Welcome to A Century of Cinema. Today I will be exploring my favourite films of 1960. First up, The Magnificent Seven. John Sturges directs this excellent Western remake of Akira Kurosawa's Seven Samurai. In this case, the seven are Yul Brynner as Chris, the stoic leader, Steve McQueen as Vin, a roguish gambler, Charles Bronson as Bernardo, ultra-professional with a strong moral compass, James Coburn as Britt, the enigmatic knife guy, Robert Vaughn as Lee, a gunfighter essentially with PTSD, Horst Buchholz as Chico, a cocky young wannabe gunfighter, and Brad Dexter as Harry, in it for a payday and the one I would always forget about. When villagers are sick of being raided by Eli Wallach's Calvero and his gang, they set off to find some hired guns. Luckily, they find Chris, who recruits the rest. The plot and characters are largely quite faithful to the original Kurosawa film, and even the changes that are made seem to me to be welcome ones. For starters, it's over an hour shorter, which really helps move along the story. And Buchholz's character is a perfect amalgam of two characters from the earlier film, the buffoonish wannabe and the romantic interest. While the characters most closely aligned with their Japanese counterparts are Chris and Bernardo. The Magnificent Seven is a beautifully made and incredibly entertaining western with panoramic vistas, compelling heroes, a despicable villain, great action, and even a few laughs. With one of the most iconic scores in film history, composed by Elmer Bernstein. Billy Wilder's The Apartment stars Jack Lemmon as C.C. Baxter, a low-level office worker who lets a few married higher-ups use his apartment for their affairs. Baxter has a crush on elevator operator Fran, played by Shirley MacLaine, who, unbeknownst to him, is having an affair with his boss, Fred McMurray Sheldrake, who becomes the newest addition to Baxter's apartment roster. Just as Baxter seems to be making progress with Fran and moving up in the company, he finds out about Fran and Sheldrake and is shattered. But soon, Fran and Sheldrake have an argument and she takes an overdose of sleeping pills in the apartment. Baxter finds her and enlists the help of his neighbour, Dr. Dreyfus, Jack Crucian. Fran recovers, but the doctor suggests she should stay in the apartment for a couple of days, and she and Baxter begin to grow closer, but Sheldrake is still on her mind. The Apartment was nominated for 10 Oscars, winning 5, including Best Picture, Director, and Original Screenplay, written by Wilder and frequent collaborator I.A.L. Diamond. And it really is an excellent screenplay, as moving as it is funny, and the characters of Baxter and Fran are supremely lovable. Enhanced further by Lemmon and MacLaine's warm, genuine performances and their undeniable chemistry. For me, there are only a few Lemmon efforts I prefer, and this is easily my favourite of MacLaine's. Also, I would have to agree with the Academy that The Apartment has the best original screenplay of 1960. Ingmar Bergman's Jungfruzellen, The Virgin Spring, is based on a medieval ballad about Per Thurre, a relatively wealthy landowner played by Max von Sydow. The adaptation by Ulla Isaacson begins with his pregnant servant Ingrid, a magnificent performance by Gunnar Lindblom, praying to Odin to curse Thurre's perfect daughter Karen, Birgitta Pettersson, which seems to work when Karen is met by a group of goat-herding brothers who subsequently rape and murder her. They take her clothes and leave to seek shelter, at the absolute worst place they could go, with Karen's family. When they are found out by the discovery of Karen's clothes, with details confirmed by the remorseful Ingrid, Thurre takes his revenge. Easily one of Bergman's darkest pieces, The Virgin Spring can be challenging at times, but primarily the surprisingly graphic for 1960 rape scene, yet it is brilliantly executed. With Ulla Isaacson's compelling screenplay, a magnificent ensemble of actors, particularly Gunnar Lindblom, and Sven Nykvist's beautifully atmospheric and somehow incredibly naturalistic cinematography. His second collaboration with Bergman, but by no means his last, The Virgin Spring marking the moment where he became Bergman's go-to DP, showing his mastery over capturing that Bergman-esque essence. Speaking of Bergman, this is clearly a director at the top of his game, unafraid to stretch out a scene and build the perfect amount of tension, which is just a little more than you may think it is. This is an absolute must for anyone with even a passing interest in Bergman's work, and worth it for the performances alone. Most strikingly, the piercing, fierce, and emotionally complex work of Gunnar Lindblom. She is my choice for Best Actress of 1960. Finally, Alfred Hitchcock's legendary Psycho. Do I really need to talk about the plot of Psycho? I mean, practically everybody's seen it by now, and for those people who have been living under a rock, I wouldn't want to spoil anything. But suffice it to say, Janet Leigh plays Marion Crane, who steals a bunch of money from her boss and winds up at the off-the-beaten-track Bates Motel. She meets the manager, Norman Bates, Anthony Perkins, who it seems is under the thumb of his domineering mother. Marion is then murdered in the shower. Her sister Lila, played by Vera Miles, and Marion's lover Sam turn up looking for her, along with P.I. Arbogast, Martin Balsam. All is not as it seems. Psycho is my favourite Hitchcock film, and one of my all-time favourite films, period. This is a damn masterpiece, top to bottom. Let's start with Bernard Herrmann's incredible score. Besides those iconic screeching strings that accompany the shower scene, the main theme and overall scoring are some of Herrmann's best work, if not his absolute best. Then, Joseph Stefano's screenplay, adapted from Robert Bloch's novel, which keeps you on edge with its disorientating subversiveness and entertains with its fascinating dialogue, giving the world the gift of Norman Bates, one of the greatest characters in the history of cinema. I know he was created in the novel, but Stefano perfected him, with plenty of help from Anthony Perkins in hands down his best performance ever. Throughout most of the film, Norman just seems a little off, just enough to be genuinely concerning, and that subtle unease you feel is very much due to what Perkins brings to the character.
It's not as if she were a maniac, a raving thing. She just goes a little mad sometimes. We all go a little mad sometimes.
And by the way, this is probably Janet Leigh's best work too. She carries the first third of the movie squarely on her shoulders, and while the film doesn't truly get going till she hits the motel, you are with her all the way. By all accounts, she's our protagonist, and she does an admirable job. Of course, it doesn't hurt that she looks like Janet Leigh looks, but mainly it's because she knocks her role out of the park. Finally, we get to the master of suspense himself, Alfred Hitchcock. Nobody else could have made Psycho, Psycho. The film is truly unique, yet still unmistakably Hitch. To appreciate the genius of it, you need only see that most famous scene ever, the shower scene. From the subtly disturbing setup, brimming with voyeuristic anticipation, to the sudden flurry of tantalizing, punishing cuts of the murder, ending with that slow pushing on the drain, becoming a slow pull back from Marion's eye. And that's just one scene. 3 minutes out of 109, halfway through the movie. There is so much more to see. Far too much to say here. What I will say is, Psycho is my choice of Best Screenplay, Joseph Stefano, Best Actor, Anthony Perkins, Best Director, Alfred Hitchcock. I think that might be 10 now. Gonna be tough to top that. And Best Picture of 1960. Join me next time on A Century of Cinema when I will be discussing my favourite films of 1961. Now go watch a movie, mother.